Green Hell might not actually be set in Brazil. Yeah, I know. What? Okay, hear me out. I went through every single plant and animal in the game, and something's not adding up. I'm still digging through the data, but I figured why not walk through it together? I already matched every in-game plant and animal with its real-world counterpart, and the most shocking thing wasn't that some of these plants don't grow in the Amazon, it's that some of them don't even grow in South America. Yes, sure, you could argue that there are so many things still undiscovered in the Amazon that some of these things might as well exist. For instance, plantain lilies are found all over the world, so maybe it's not impossible to imagine one in the Amazon. Now, I'm no botanist, but I know somebody who has been for 26 years, and they told me that hostas and hostesses need rich, well-draining soils in temperate climates, while the Amazon is tropical/equatorial, often nutrient-poor, hot and humid. Sure, wilder things have been discovered, but the more plants we have that don't belong in South America, the more weight we can put on the assumption that they simply don't exist, and the harder it is to theorize that all of these somehow ended up in this particular patch of the rainforest we're in. Same with bananas. The bananas that you find in the game, these wild banana plants with yellowish green fruit, they don't exist in the Amazon. Those that are being grown on farms all around South America do not have the ability to reproduce without human propagation, because they don't have viable seeds. The bananas we eat today, like Cavendish and plantains, are seedless and propagate only through suckers, small offshoots like this that grow alongside the main plant, which farmers then dig up and replant elsewhere. Without viable seeds that can be dispersed by animals or wind, there is no way for a stray banana to take root in the middle of nowhere. The only theoretical way a banana could spread naturally in the jungle is if a sucker or root segment was accidentally transported by floodwaters or carried by humans. I don't know about you, but to me, the in-game natives didn't look like there's someone who'd be making carrefour runs. Same goes for the cassava. In the game, it's got round, bright red, six-petaled flowers, but I couldn't find a species like that anywhere in the real world. That said, cassava might just be the most realistic out of the three, as there are wild cassavas in the Amazon, just not this fictional species. Okay, so we've agreed that it wouldn't make sense to fantasize about what could exist when we have a list of what does exist, so let's focus on that first. Let's take this list to the Q taxonomic database to find distribution maps for each of these species, and once we have them, let's overlay all the distribution maps to see the overlapping areas, and the area that is the brightest will have the biggest amount of plant species from the game. This doesn't look surprising now, does it? We know the game takes place in the Amazon basin, but what if I show you the total number of plant species in the brightest areas? Could it be that we're actually in Colombia? Problem is, the Q maps aren't very detailed in terms of Brazilian states. There are 7 just here in the north region. So if we are in Brazil, we'll need more than just plants to figure out where. So let's look at game fauna. Here again, I have to remove animals that are completely off mark. Rattlesnakes? Gotta go. That one's a western diamondback, and it doesn't live in South America. Toca toucan? Amazing bird, but barely touches the Amazon basin. Hyacinth macaw? Closer, but even Brazilian ornithologists aren't sure if it even lives in these areas or if it's bound to these 3. Now the discus fish is a curious case. I found that while widely present in South America, the coloration that we have in the game is that of a pet variety. It's called pigeon red, and it's an aquarium hybrid. So I'm leaving the discus fish in the present category, but I'm wagging my finger at the devs for making such a rookie mistake. Now, for the rest of the animals, I checked their distribution maps, and as expected, most of them were present across the continent. Jaguars, capybaras, red-bellied piranhas, stingrays, armadillos, and so on, but there were quite a few I was not certain would overlap, so I combined the range maps into this monstrosity. Sorry it's a bit messy, I didn't want to spend too much time on it. But check this out, animals like the peccary, scarlet macaw, iguana, and the red-footed tortoise all overlap. Now look, I'll add cane toad, angelfish, and then North Cayman lizard. You can see how the range is narrowing down to mostly just the main channel of the Amazon River. Now comes the Goliath bird eater. Boom! And black caravana. Bingo! All the ranges are converging in this area. Black caravana specifically is only present in the rivers Branco and Negro. So now I'm thinking, based on this overlap and the Colombian hint earlier, could this area be our location? Well, we have our hypothesis, let's see if it tracks with the other parts of the game. In Green Hell, Jake and Mia interact with the Lost Iboka tribe. I found a paper that suggests the distribution of the isolated tribes in South America and another map with confirmed sightings. They're basically the same picture. Then I overlaid it with the Amazon basin map and
Can you enhance the image from here?
Can you enhance him right here?
Can you enhance it?
Can you enhance it?
Can we enhance this?
Can you enhance it?
Hold on a second, I'll enhance.
you see that the river Negro cuts straight through the supposed territories of uncontacted tribes, and the river Branco skirts nearby. We know from the game that the Yubaca tribe is an uncontacted tribe that is not nomadic and sticks to one area, so it would make sense to assume if this tribe was real, it wouldn't appear outside of these red areas. You might ask me, why not somewhere else, like here in Javari Valley? That's because, remember, this area is the only one where most of our animals overlap. But let's not rely on my poor image editing skills, let's rely on my poor researching skills. So while you were looking at the black screen there, I painstakingly checked whether every animal in the game was actually present around the rivers Negro and Branco, and if there were any clues that would let me narrow it down. I found a publication by the Brazilian Ministry of Environment that mentions that while ocelot river stingray does live throughout South America, the one that lives in the rivers Negro and Branco is a bit special. It has specific pattern ocelli, or little eye spots around its outer edge, that matches what we see in the game. My confidence grew here, but I still hadn't found a way to narrow it down more. That was until I looked into the discus fish. I found it to be limited to the lower reaches of the river Negro, this area. Could we have been looking too far north this whole time? If so, this would put us near Manaus, which feels weird because it's a major city. But wait, wasn't there another species of animal that had a range that was basically following the main channel of Amazon? Look, the North Cayman lizard also favors the same southern stretch. And if we check the map of uncontacted tribes, the map speaks for itself. It's time to get into the thick of it. Yeah, no, there won't be a reel of me walking through the jungle and tracking capybaras. I can show you one more table though. So I was trying to find written evidence for each of these species being present in the region, but unfortunately the information was very scarce and not always reliable. This led me down a different path, and I grouped each species by their preferred environment, and surprise surprise, I had to toss out coconut palms and mangroves too. Both need coastal environment, lots of sun and space, not what we're seeing in the game. Also, I found that Monstera deliciosa only grows in Central America. According to Q, it might survive in Western Colombia, but that's still quite a ways from the jungle setting. We'll have to chalk it up to the devs taking creative liberties. Looking at the table, you might be wondering how blackwater and whitewater species can coexist. You might already know that whitewater rivers, like the river Branco, carry a lot of sediment, which makes them brown and rich in nutrients, while blackwater rivers like the Negro are more acidic, which helps keep parasite and bacterial populations to a minimum, but also makes them less nutrient rich. This makes them very different in terms of species that they support. So how can the area support both types of species? Through seasonal floods. Where the rivers converge, they create a unique transition zone, an ecotone, where both ecosystems can mix. It's a rare setup, and my research shows this area supports all the ecological features required by the species I've outlined. So yeah, I'm confident the game is set somewhere here. And how does the Yubaca tribe fit into the picture? Well, this is actually a designated indigenous territory, and the tribe that lives there is only some 2,000 people strong, spread across this massive territory. So we can make the conclusion that either Yubaca tribe is Vaimeria Troari themselves, or, since Vaimeria Troari regularly interact with other Brazilians, so aren't exactly uncontacted, there is another actual uncontacted tribe here that we don't know about, as also suggested by these maps. And as for that Colombian clue, well, turns out that it was soursop souring the plot. It grows in Colombia, but not in southern Colombia, the only place that could have fit the game setting. So, Rip Guanabana, our in-game savior, gone but not forgotten. All in all, I think we've done pretty well figuring this out. I was kind of hoping it wasn't Brazil just so I could slap that on the thumbnail, but hey, we're close enough to a real location. Let me know what you think, and if you have any theories of your own, drop them below.